All right, what's going on, big dogs? So we all know how much of a terrible person Logan Paul is, and I don't think I even need to explain why we all think this. You can type in his name and there'll be 100 different articles talking about the crap he's doing this week and the crap he's done in the past. Overall, I think everybody's always known that this guy isn't the greatest person, but one of his former co-hosts, George Jankos, sorry, came out on his own podcast where he had Logan's current co-host, Mike, on the show where they talked about what happened between George and the Impulsive team. And George completely exposes Logan for what we all probably already assumed. That is that he is a terrible friend and just a terrible person overall.
Yeah.
Right.
And they cut around it. You said that.
Well, I have no control over that.
I try to make peace with this guy.
I know.
You've seen me.
Yeah.
I've tried to make peace with him behind closed doors. I try to reach out. I try to be cool. But by the way, and I'll just say this, we'll just empty it out. I never had a problem with Bobby Lee.
No, he knows
I
that.
had a problem with the way that Logan and you were kind of gassing him to keep doing. He started the episode putting his balls in my face. I let that one go. Then every 2 seconds, he kept grabbing my dick.
I don't think...
How would you feel if a man that has his back completely towards you, that only turns around to grab your dick,
right,
talk shit to your face, and you can't smack or beat the living brakes off of this guy? Because Logan makes me apologize to this man, or I don't have a job on Impulsive anymore. How fucking crazy is that?
I don't think I understood. I can only speak for myself.
Bro, it's not a group chat.
I hope you can understand
it's not a group
that.
Chat.
No. I'm talking about during the episode because there was, I didn't know that you were feeling.
But after the episode, do you remember when you called me and I said, Mike, this is all that happens, and you said verbatim, you said, it's our fault for not telling you this, but me and Logan are really the ones who should be talking to the guests. You are really there for a boys only episode. So while I get sexually harassed, my other co-host is trying to fire me, and you're trying to leverage me to be quiet during other guests. And then on my birthday, you guys shot 3 episodes, so I couldn't show up.
I just think...
All right, so they dive into the main topic basically right away. We're only 4 minutes into the clip they posted on his clip channel, which I'll link down below if you want to watch like just this segment on the whole Logan Paul, George Jankos kind of thing going on. And right away, he talks about how Bobby Lee is, well, being what Bobby Lee has always been. Bobby Lee is notoriously a terrible person to have on your podcast. He has been filmed plenty of times grabbing and groping people, being up in your face, walking out on shows. He has done basically every terrible thing you could think of when it comes to hosting a podcast or being a guest on a podcast. He's just not a great person to have around. I've never been a fan of Bobby Lee for these reasons. I think his show that he does is actually not terrible, but I can just never take him seriously because I never know how he's going to take things, I guess is the best way to put it. Sometimes he jokes around and he's all fine with it, and other times he takes it so serious that it ruins the entire episode. And it just seems like he's just not a fun guy to be around. But then to also find out that Logan is upset with him, obviously, because at this point, I believe he was already trying to do his own thing, or I talked about doing his own thing. So Logan's already upset with him and yelling at him that, you know, he can't be doing that to his guests. And his own friend here, Mike, is basically telling him, yeah, you know what? I think it'd just be best if you shut the fuck up and didn't talk in the episodes anymore. Like, maybe it should just be me and Logan talking. When he's trying to talk to him about this guy legit sexually harassing him live on air. Like, you can go back and watch the episode, and the entire time before George walks off, Bobby's just constantly like grabbing on him, putting his hands all over him. Who wouldn't be uncomfortable in that situation? I'd beat the crap out of that guy, or I'd yell at him several times. Like, I don't like being touched, especially by people I don't know. Like, sure, you're a guest on my show, but that doesn't mean I know you. That doesn't mean you're my friend. That means you're a guest on my show. But they really start getting into like the meat and potatoes of the actual issues between them and Logan. So George and Logan.
I never said you did.
I was there with you when we negotiated the deal for you to be a part of the podcast. I applauded it. I was always had your interest in mind. So regardless of all of these outcomes, the reason I was hurt was because I was always the one that was there. I was always the one standing up for you.
The last straw for me was, Mike, I had to escape. I had to leave for my own fear. When Logan came after me for my religion, the show hit rock bottom and we weren't getting paid. I was getting paid $5,000 a month, and that's covering just Reed. I have a mortgage. I have my sister that works for me. I have Belle. I'm trying to get married. I had all these things. So I had to start my own show because we're not making money on this show, and I'm getting pushed out of this show.
Well, at the time, we weren't making money. You made money on the show.
But at the time, we're a couple months.
How much money did you make over the course
I can show you my books. I was spending 10 G's a month being on the show.
Right.
Name me a job that you're a part of that you spend $10,000 to do. Okay, so that's one. Two, and by the way, let's not forget that for a year and a half I didn't get paid.
No, and I didn't get paid for years.
Okay.
Until I got paid.
Okay, so
right.
but
You did make a sizable amount of money on the show.
And by the
What would
way,
you say, like,
always grateful. I was always
something
grateful.
like that?
Yeah, I don't like to talk about money, but I was always grateful. Always grateful. I think anybody could see that. But when I got pushed out, and I'm seeing that I'm getting pushed out, and I start my own show, do you know what my final straw was?
What?
I got my show going, and then not only was I controlled and pushed around on Impulsive, but then Logan's making calls and directing my show. And I'm saying, hey, man, you can't tell me what to do on my own show. That's not okay.
What's that about?
He told me that I couldn't take Celsius. And then I said, hey,
He
man.
didn't tell you that you couldn't
I have
take
text
Celsius.
messages.
No, he didn't tell you that you couldn't take Celsius. He
says if I take Celsius, I'm not a part of Impulsive.
Then he told you that if you take Celsius, that you cannot continue to be on Impulsive, which is the core driver for Prime, as you're going to continue to funnel viewership from the Impulsive show back to your show, which promotes a competitive product.
Yeah.
He also told you that if you wait 6 months after the deal's done, you're more than welcome to rejoin the show if you need to make money.
But they're always trying to find a way to push me out.
I don't.
You know what he told me? When I told
think
you know what I
that
told
was.
hold on,
I
hold on.
think that was
This
a
is
fair.
a guy who's this is a guy who's sending us screenshots of $11 million a week that he's making. Okay, and on top of that, we never got any money from Prime, and we own that show. So technically, we should have gotten a percentage of that. I never asked for it like the way you did. I stayed the fuck out of it. I didn't care because I'm grateful for what I'm making. I'm gonna go start my own business.
All right, I don't want to run that clip too much longer, but wow, Mike is out here just really defending Logan this entire episode. Like, even in the parts where they're not even exactly talking about this specific issue, he's in there basically just meat riding Logan the entire time. Like, I almost guarantee you he had to like beg or ask Logan for permission to even do this episode. And I bet Logan was sitting there thinking like, yeah, man, he's got all the deets. He's going to defend us. Like, this is going to be great. And this is just making both of them look like complete assholes. So not only were these guys not making any money off the episode, you got Logan sending them screenshots of him making all this goddamn money. And then when his supposed friend and business partner, you know, they're like they said, they owned it together, so they should have been getting a cut of the Prime profits, but they weren't. Whatever, they didn't care. But his friend goes off to do this cast on his own. He's starting to get, you know, notoriety. He's starting to get, you know, sponsorship deals. And he tells him, hey man, I have this sponsorship deal with Celsius, who yes is a competitor with Prime, but Logan says no, that's a competitive brand. If you do that, you're not allowed to be on our show anymore, which is super hypocritical of Logan, because it wasn't that long ago when his brother Jake was in a fight and Logan tried to walk into this fight, which was sponsored by Celsius. Like, the entire event was sponsored by Celsius. He tried to walk in with front row tickets, like paid ringside tickets, with a bunch of like Prime bottles to promote his drink, right? And they didn't let him bring that in. And Logan had this entire episode with his brother and spent this entire segment of this episode complaining to his brother, who just was in a boxing match, right? Instead of being supportive of his brother in a moment where, you know, this is a big deal for him, like this is a big fight, blah, blah, blah. Instead of being supportive of his brother and congratulating him on the win and doing all this other stuff, he's sitting there and being mad at him that they didn't let him bring a rival company drink into an event that is paid for, or at least partially paid for, and sponsored by Celsius. Like, why would they ever let you do that? It's not like this guy's podcast is going to completely suck the joy out of kids buying Prime, because that's where Prime is targeted. I don't know any grown adults that are going out of their way to buy Prime. It's all kids, because I think anybody with actual taste buds can tell that Prime is shit. It's not a great drink. I've tried them all. They're terrible. They're not a good energy drink. They're not a good like sports drink like they're trying to be. Like, their dosages and stuff are not great. I could do a video on it, but I'm not going to get into it here. But Mike tries to use that as an argument later on, where it's like, well, you'd be taking fans of Prime and switching them over to Celsius and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, no, nobody's going to be switching over. Like, your audience is going to stay with you no matter what. They don't give a shit. George's podcast is pretty different from Logan's. Like, Logan's is a lot more like internet culture and shit like that. Don't get me wrong, George has people on there that are internet culture and stuff, but he applies a lot of his religion to his podcast, which was a segment he brought up there where, you know, him and Logan had this whole beef and Logan was attacking him for his religion and stuff like that, which was a whole nother drama that happened a while back between these two. And like he said, sure, Logan offered to be like, yeah, take your sponsorship, and then if you want your job back after that deal's over, that 6-month deal's over, you can come back. But would he actually take him back? They're already trying to push this guy off the show, like he said, and they're already trying to basically rag on him all the time, and they're using him as this scapegoat, where whatever goes wrong or whatever is wrong, or, you know, maybe the views aren't up or something like that, they're just like, it has to be this guy. It couldn't be us. It couldn't be the fact that we have no personality whatsoever, or that we're two terrible people who are scumbags to half our guests. Like they try to be these, you know, oh, we're like, they try to be alpha male guys all the time, and it just doesn't work whatsoever.
And I tell him, I go, Logan, I get it, bro. And I fully told him, I go, listen, man, like, I will take half the deal that Celsius gives me. Half. If you want to put it on the table for my show, a quarter, work with me. He says, I won't pay you a dime. You're here because of me. And then I said, well, what do you want me to do for my bills, bro? I got no money. And he says, go have your rich dad pay for it.
Listen,
that's fighting words, bro. Look,
but they're not accurate though. Not reaching out to you. No, I think there's probably
what about
just
the Bobby Lee thing, bro?
What did you want me to do about the Bobby Lee?
I don't know. Maybe not tell me to shut up after I get sexually harassed.
I didn't tell you to shut up. I never said that.
I looked at Logan. I go, Logan, this is gonna make me look really bad.
No.
And he says, I don't give a fuck what you look like, bro. Come on, dog. You were standing right next to me when he said that, dog. Nobody felt safe in that. You don't even feel safe in that.
Okay.
So like, how are you trying to make it seem like what I'm saying is nonsense?
It's not nonsense, but I just wonder.
Am I making it up more in my head?
Some of it has a life of its own. I don't believe that everything is as black and white as you see it.
Maybe it's just my point of view.
And same with me.
Again,
100%.
That's why I said if I wish I would have fixed my behavior, then it would have been better. But like,
dude, to think
I can only accept so much.
Okay, so right there again, it just shows that Logan Paul does not give two fucks about anyone else but himself, and how, you know, his shows look, and how income basically is all he cares about, is how much money he's going to be able to make off of that stuff. So clearly George tried to get that podcast like edited, or to, you know, have certain clips in so that maybe it made him look better. But like they stated previously, they always tried to, or if you watch the video, they previously state that the entire point on the Impulsive podcast was they always wanted to leave their guests in a positive light, which on one hand is very honorable and like nice. It's good to hear that, you know, you're not trying to put people on your podcast just to make them look like shitty people, but to make somebody who is being a gross person, so Bobby Lee like touching on him and grabbing his wiener and trying to get him to smell his junk and stuff like that, to then like try to make that person into like try to put them in a good light is just not, I just, it doesn't make any sense. Like, why wouldn't you want to put clips in of your friend like defending himself, being like, no, you know, oh dude, stop that, dude, knock it off. Then people would actually understand like why he got up and walked off. Like the way they edited it and the way they made it look is as if George just couldn't take a joke and got up and walked off. But it was such a continuous ordeal. And he even tells them like, none of you guys would have been comfortable in that situation. And like I said earlier, this is a track record that Bobby Lee has had for a while. And it's crazy to see that. But at the end of the day, this really just kind of proves everyone's point. This drama is basically pointless since it's already over. Like, these guys have clearly split up. They don't really, you know, interact with each other. I think people were just kind of waiting for this, whether he had Logan on his show or Logan had him back on the show or something like that, where they would just go over what happened, because there was a lot of speculation whether one side was in the right or the other side was in the right, and blah blah blah, all that kind of stuff. You had people picking sides, and I think it's pretty clear that Logan, like most of us assumed except for his young audience, is that Logan's just an asshole who is using people and only cares about himself and doesn't care if it involves you being, you know, SA'd live on air, or, you know, on an episode that you decide to post, and then try to make the guy who groped him look better in this case, or make your friend look bad in that case. You know, even one point in there when he's telling Logan about how isn't making any money, Logan basically tells him, boo-hoo, go ask your rich dad for money. Like, that's just something you just shouldn't say to a friend. That's not something I would ever say to anybody that I actually respected. So Logan's just not a great guy. But anyways, guys, let me know what you think of this whole drama down below. If you did enjoy the video, remember to please leave a like, comment, and of course subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We're extremely close to 500 sub, guys, so if you guys could really subscribe, that would be awesome. It's absolutely free, and you can change your mind at any point if you decide that you don't like my content anymore. But don't forget to come check me out on all my socials. Links will be in the description below. Thank you guys for your time. Thank you guys for sticking around to the end of the video, and until the next video, guys, Godspeed.